The revelation came not in a dramatic headline or an orchestrated press release, but in the quiet sincerity of Caitríona Balfe's words. After years of guarding the boundaries between on-screen fantasy and off-screen truth, she finally let slip something profoundly human about her co-star and friend, Sam Heughan. She revealed that behind the dazzling red carpets, the roaring fan conventions, and the carefully curated social media posts, Sam had once confessed to her about the lonely nights no one ever saw. Nights when the world believed he had it all: fame, success, adoration. But when he returned home, he found himself in silence, consumed by the ache of solitude. It was a confession Caitríona had carried close to her chest for years, protecting her friend's vulnerability from a world that often demanded perfection from him. But now, as Outlander neared its conclusion and the mythology of Jamie Fraser began to fade, she felt it was time to remind the world that Sam is not just a larger-than-life hero. He is, at his core, a man who has endured the painful paradox of fame, to be adored by millions and yet to feel utterly alone. There were nights, Caitríona recalled, when Sam would come back from events that looked so glamorous to everyone else, but he'd tell me, "I walked into my hotel room and there was just silence. No one to share it with." The words hung heavy because they dismantled the fantasy so many fans clung to. For almost a decade, Sam had been idolized as Jamie Fraser, the embodiment of unwavering love, passion, and devotion. But the man behind that character lived a reality far more fragile, one where companionship was elusive and the world's expectations only deepened the isolation. The loneliness wasn't about a lack of attention, far from it. Sam has long been surrounded by fans, admirers, and industry colleagues. But that kind of attention isn't the same as intimacy. Caitríona explained that the adoration of strangers often only sharpened his sense of distance. When everyone thinks they know you, when they project their fantasies onto you, it can make the quiet moments feel even lonelier, she said. And in those moments, when the lights dimmed and the crowd's cheers faded, Sam was left confronting a truth few could imagine. The man who seemed to have everything was often the one who felt most alone. It was a startling reminder of the price of celebrity. Fame brought Sam global recognition, financial stability, and the chance to live out his dreams as an actor. But it also took something away: the ability to build a private life without interference. Relationships, friendships, even casual encounters were often overshadowed by speculation, gossip, and the relentless blurring of fiction and reality. Fans wanted Jamie Fraser, the loyal husband, the eternal romantic. But Sam Heughan could never fully live up to that fantasy. And when he couldn't, the result was whispers, lies, and endless questioning about his personal life. Caitríona's revelation of Sam's confession cut through those lies with raw humanity. She wasn't exposing him to scandal. She wasn't capitalizing on gossip. She was reminding the world that beneath the kilt and the hero's mask was a man who, like anyone else, longed for connection. "People forget he's human," she noted. "They see Jamie, and they think that's Sam. But it's not. Sam has carried so much on his own, and those lonely nights were very real." The irony was painful. On screen, Jamie Fraser is never truly alone. His love story with Claire defines him, sustains him, and captivates audiences. Off-screen, Sam Heughan carried the weight of that same image, all while wrestling with the emptiness of hotel rooms and the gnawing question of whether anyone truly saw him for who he was. Caitríona's decision to share his confession wasn't just a revelation. It was an act of compassion, a way of giving voice to a pain Sam himself rarely expressed publicly. And as her words spread, fans were forced to reckon with a new perspective. The man they adored, the hero they idolized, had quietly admitted to feeling the one thing they never imagined for him: loneliness. Not scandal, not betrayal, but a human fragility that made him more real than Jamie Fraser ever could. Caitríona Balfe's revelation of Sam Heughan's hidden confession struck fans like a thunderbolt. The image of the indestructible Highland warrior, the man who seemed to stride effortlessly through fame and adoration, was suddenly replaced with something far more raw. A man haunted by nights of silence. A man whose greatest challenge wasn't a villain on screen but the loneliness that crept in once the lights dimmed. For many, it was a heartbreak. For others, it was the first time they truly saw Sam not as Jamie Fraser, but as himself. The confession also underscored the extraordinary friendship between Caitríona and Sam. For years, their bond has been scrutinized, romanticized, and twisted into countless rumors. But here, in Caitríona's choice to share his vulnerable truth, fans glimpsed the foundation of their relationship: loyalty, honesty, and unwavering support. Few people in Sam's life could carry such a confession without exploiting it. Caitríona did, for years. And when she finally shared it, she did so not to feed gossip but to protect him, to humanize him in the face of lies that had long painted him as untouchable. She described how she could see the toll that isolation took on him during the grueling Outlander schedules. Sam gave so much of himself every day, she said. He poured his heart into Jamie, and then, when the day ended, he had to retreat into his own thoughts. That's where the loneliness crept in. Her words painted a stark picture. The world's most romantic hero, returning not to the warmth of family but to an empty hotel room, where silence replaced applause and solitude replaced intimacy. The fanbase reacted with a mix of shock and empathy. Online, thousands of messages poured in. "I had no idea he was struggling like this," one fan wrote on Twitter. "We always thought of him as surrounded by people, but this makes me realize how isolating fame can be." Another added, "Sam gave us Jamie's love story, but who is giving Sam his?" The outpouring of compassion was overwhelming. For once, instead of speculation about his love life, fans spoke of wanting him to find peace, comfort, and the happiness that seemed elusive in his confession. But not everyone reacted kindly. A small but vocal group accused Caitríona of revealing too much, of crossing a boundary by exposing Sam's vulnerability. Yet, those who knew their story argued otherwise. Caitríona's revelation wasn't about betrayal, it was about defense. By shining a light on the reality of his loneliness, she silenced the narrative that Sam was somehow manipulative, insincere, or living a secret double life. She showed the world that his silence wasn't deceit, it was self-preservation. Beyond fandom drama, Caitríona's words tapped into a deeper conversation about the cost of fame. The loneliness Sam described is not unique to him. It's a haunting reality for many celebrities who live in the glare of constant attention. The public sees glamour, premieres, photoshoots, charity galas, but rarely do they imagine the aftermath. The quiet moments when the crowd disperses and the star is left wondering if anyone truly knows them beyond the image. In Sam's case, the burden was heavier because his image was Jamie Fraser, a man defined entirely by devotion and love. Living up to that fantasy off-screen was impossible. Caitríona's act of revealing his confession was, in many ways, an attempt to recalibrate that fantasy. To remind the world that Sam is not Jamie, and that the man who gives so much to his fans deserves understanding when he admits to having nothing left at the end of the night. Her warning was subtle but powerful. Don't mistake the man for the myth, and don't let the lies drown out the truth of his humanity. For Sam, those lonely nights remain part of the story no one wants to acknowledge, that the price of being adored by millions is often being truly known by very few. Yet, in Caitríona's loyalty, he has at least one ally who will not let that truth be forgotten. She carried his confession not to exploit him, but to protect him from a world too eager to reduce him to headlines and hashtags. In the end, Caitríona Balfe's revelation was more than just a shocking piece of news. It was a plea for empathy, for compassion, and for recognition of the invisible battles fought behind celebrity smiles. Sam Heughan's lonely nights are not scandalous. They are the quiet scars of a man who has given everything to his craft and who, despite the crowds, still waits for the intimacy that fame has denied him. And perhaps that is the real story. Not the lies, not the gossip, but the humanity. A confession whispered in friendship, now revealed to remind the world that even its brightest stars sometimes walk alone.